Can't sing. But okay, ladies, nothing. Just, you know what, let's not worry about it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Basetradetv show match. Here today we are working with StarCraft Ascension to put on this excellent show match, and spawning here in the top left corner of the map, he's blue. He plays for StarCraft Ascension. It is JonSnow. And he doesn't have his own personal Twitter, but the team Twitter is at .sca if any of you guys would like to keep up to date with what's going on with their players.
And his opponent, a very prominent player in the StarCraft 2 community, he is none other than the Purple Terran, playing for Complexity. It is Complexity QXC. Give him some love over at call_QXC on Twitter.
Yeah, before we jump into this too much, guys, we are debuting this brand new shiny looking UI made, of course, by the wonderful at FlamgaSC on Twitter. If you guys have any comments, feedbacks, criticisms about this, we're always looking for new ways to improve. Hence why we keep coming up with new UIs, new tournament ideas, and what have you. So don't be shy, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Twitch. Let us know your thoughts. But Penguin, Akilon Waste. I don't know about this map for this matchup, man.
We could be in for a very, very long and epic first map. We've seen some very long games on this map. We've also seen some pretty short ones. Timing attacks are relatively good because it's actually not that long a rush distance. It's not that long to wander over to your opponent's base, but it's also a very, very easy map to take 3, 4, or 5 bases on. So we'll have to see how these guys want to approach this matchup. Looks like we're going to be seeing Hatch first out of JonSnow and CC first out of QXC on the low ground. So he's really showing off those balls of brass.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little beforehand, and if you guys were just watching the VOD, let's give him some street cred. I think a lot of people know who QXC is. He's been kind of like the American Terran. Like, just the poster child almost for the longest time. So there's not a whole lot of build-up I can give this guy. He's got some of the greatest strategies. In the beta, he was doing some really cool stuff with Reapers, if anyone's seen those videos. But his opponent, you know, lesser known, JonSnow. Who is this guy? First off, I do want to dispel this myth. There was, in fact, 100% a map hacker that was known as JonSnow, but this is not that player. He's not associated in any way whatsoever. It's been cleared over about 10 times over at this point. So if you guys see this name and you recognize it and you think badly of it, please know that this is a fresh player that has nothing to do. It's just a coincidence with the names. But more importantly, JonSnow recently has some super representation when StarCraft Ascension fought EG in the Eastern Team Story Cup, almost reverse killing the entire EG team. It took Jaedong to shut this guy down.
Yeah, definitely not someone to be underestimated. Even if you haven't heard of him before, he definitely is a very strong player, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he offers us here. But he's actually going to be, even though he went Hatch first, he's going to be a little behind already, just because QXC went for the greediest possible opening, going for CC first on the low ground, followed by Gas, then followed by Rax. He's going to be going into a relatively early factory here, but he's already looking pretty happy, considering that there's no heavy aggression coming out of JonSnow.
Well, the big thing too is by getting this factory out, you know, despite going CC first, he's still got the factory coming out at a relatively fresh timing. He'll be able to get those Hellions out, and man, Hellions in the early game are so abusively good put in the right hands of the right player.
Yeah, Hellions are really, really great. They're essentially a great way to shut down any sort of map control that Zerg has early on. And QXC, definitely a player who is capable of controlling those Hellions to the best of their ability.
Now, the cool thing about JonSnow, I want to point out, is he did get enough gas precisely for metabolic boost, and then decided, you know what, let's pull off, let's get our minerals up as fast as we possibly can, so we can look towards maybe either going A, super retarded aggressive, or B, get that third base.
Yeah, we are going to be seeing Hellions out of here, as you predicted, Rifkin. But looking back over at JonSnow, he's just getting an extra queen out, going to be starting to spread that creep. Still no guys back on the gas, so definitely going to be focusing on droning for now. Wouldn't be surprised to see him grab a third base, and down it goes. So going up to 3 bases very, very early, and only now adding on additional gases.
And really interesting to me from QXC is a lot of times by going CC first, you can still get that Reaper first opening. It's not going to do a lot of damage. Reapers, of course, mostly used for scouting information, I feel, most days. But QXC, you know, there's a lot of strategy that involves incorporating Reapers with these Hellions, but he's coming in with just the Hellions, and right now there's actually not that many queens to shut these down.
Yeah, I mean, he's building out the one extra queen, and of course...
Oh, these drones in the main!
Two Hellions shouldn't be the biggest problem in the world, but there is...
He's attacking his Overlord! JonSnow with the incredible miscontrol!
Yeah, that's definitely not good. These Hellions have a lot more health now than they should. They've already killed up a good number of drones with 4 worker kills, 5 worker kills. And I mean, this isn't game-ending damage, but this is a very, very nice use of those Hellions. Another 2 drones going down. And this may even just be, even if it's not game-ending, 8 workers killed is going to put QXC in a phenomenal position going forward.
Yeah, plus all the extra lings that popped out just kind of reactively, where it's like, I would have rather have just droned at this point, but QXC, with some really creative stuff, Penguin gonna load 4 Hellions into this medevac, recognizing that most likely JonSnow will, most Zergs, not just JonSnow, but most Zergs will usually put some fortifications at that front ramp. We see the Zerglings camping. Normally you'd have like double evolution chambers, right, with that spine crawler to just wall things off, but
This is
QXC?
actually, JonSnow was playing very, very greedy early on. He went he went the 3rd hatchery very, very early. He added on only 1 extra queen, and that actually is what ended up losing him those drones. Because generally, if you go 4 queens, you'll have the creep connecting the main and the natural. And if the creep had been connecting the main and the natural, he would have been able to get that 2nd queen up to reinforce much, much quicker. But he didn't, and his greed definitely did not go all that well for him so far. We'll see how much damage this drop can do.
Well, there are
It
roaches.
has been spotted.
The
Yeah.
roaches are in position to intercept this, so these Hellions they'll get some kills, no question about it, but not that many, I feel.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much they can actually do here. We have spores going up as well, so that's going to be very, very nice against potential Hellbat drops coming up. Looks like QXC definitely wants to be meching here. He's going to add on a 3rd factory, getting tanks, Hellions, an armory already up, a 3rd CC coming on down as well. Looks like he wants to go Banshees too, which is pretty cool. It's not something we see all that often right now. Since HOTS has been released, we haven't really seen Banshees that much, but I mean,
I don't know that this would be Banshees. I would honestly think Raven, just for the detection and then move things around, because Raven's, of course, stupidly good right now.
yeah,
But the
I'm not quite
Hellions,
sure this early, but we'll see. How much damage are these Hellions doing? Not that
they
much.
picked up a worker, but I mean, it's keeping JonSnow on his toes, keeping him at home, and you're right, it's actually going to be a Banshee. I'm completely wrong about that. And this is interesting to me, because I guess on one hand, you know your opponent's going to be pumping out a lot of Roaches and a lot of Zerglings with no Hydralisk dens scouted. It's actually quite comfortable to go for something like Banshees, because I mean, yeah, there's the Spore Crawlers in the middle line, but what is there in the middle of the field where the army will be resonating? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we are actually going to be seeing Hellbats as well. I'll be interested to see if he goes for a drop here. Dropping Hellbats at one expansion while hitting the other one of the Banshee could be absolutely devastating, Rifkin.
Well, it's really going to be difficult to micro around that Banshee, because again, there are the Spore Crawlers.
The Hellions are coming back into the main, Rifkin. There's nothing really here to defend this. Just
no,
the Spore Crawler,
JonSnow
obviously doesn't hit those Hellions.
He does evacuate the drones, but I mean, oh, he's sending a couple back in. Roaches are going to try and clean this up, but again, he's taking these small losses. 16 workers killed, not the biggest deal for a Zerg player, but it starts adding up when it happens again. I look at the 3rd base too. Multiple Hellion run-bys are keeping JonSnow going crazy right now.
Yeah, the one at the 3rd base didn't really kill all that much, only 2 workers. But overall, QXC's worker kills, as you said, are going to start adding up here. Looks like JonSnow does want to get that infestation pit up, does want to go up to Hive as quickly as possible, most likely. But this is really looking tough for him. He's having to play against Mech here off 3 base. He's barely on 3 base himself. He's only up by 8. He's actually down in workers by 5. So QXC is looking phenomenal right now.
Well, big thing too is QXC has no upgrades going for him. JonSnow's about to have his 1-1 kick in, and of course, you know, 1-1, not the biggest deal in the world, but later on as the game progresses, being ahead in upgrades once you've got that 200 army, massive.
Indeed. There's my first indeed of the day, Rifkin.
Strike 1, Penguin. Okay, QXC. Well, I love that he's constantly applying this aggression. Like, he's got the Banshee patrolling the middle of the map. He's ready to catch anything coming out the middle. He's got this Hellbat drop ready to go, and I mean, he's been frying workers with these Hellion run-bys and Hellion drops. This is it's the best way to keep your opponent at home, by being paranoid that you're going to get dropped time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this Banshee is just patrolling the middle right now, but he can use that. There's also the threat of that for more damage here, but speaking of damage, Hellbat's coming into the natural. Looks like they will be shut down pretty easily here. The medevac does escape with 5 hit points, but these 2 Hellbats will not live to fry another day.
Beautiful reaction there from JonSnow, immediately pulling those drones, not even losing a single one. I mean, it's the small things, but cleaning this stuff up is where you need to be. I mean, he's behind in drones or workers right now, as weird as that is to conceive, against a Terran player who's also got mules.
Yeah, the big thing here is that JonSnow, what he's going to need is he's going to need an amazing engagement here. First of all, he needs to not take any more damage. He's taken so much damage already that he needs to just not anymore. But he needs to also just take an amazing engagement when QXC decides to push out. He needs to get the great blinding clouds of the Vipers. He needs to get a really nice concave, maybe even a flank coming in from one side with the Roach Hydra army. He just needs everything to go his way from now on. He's not out of the game just yet, but QXC is definitely in an amazing position here. 2 more CCs going down as well, just to continue up with that macro. 3 more factories.
I really want to compliment JonSnow on his creep spread right now. I mean, this is exactly what Zerg players need to do. I think you being a pro Zerg player could testify just how important creep is in this matchup.
Especially against mech. You really need to be able to see your opponent coming from as far away as possible. Another Hellbat drop going down at the 4th, but that's not finished yet, so he's not going to kill any workers. Just loses a Hellbat essentially for free.
He did pick off the Banshee. The Banshee floating around the middle of the map was picked up by those Hydras. I mean, it does give him that little bit of like, okay, I know that there's no more arrow in the field, I guess. Just these medevacs to worry about. But, man, an Ultraless Cavern Penguin.
Yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. Basically, he's going to want the Ultras to tank. The Hydras are going to be the big damage dealers, but Roaches will only tank so much in the later game. And we have some more Hellbats coming into the natural here. A couple of workers already fried. Ooh, nice yoink on the medevac there. Will allow him to clean this up. He did lose a few more workers, but overall, JonSnow has really stepped up his defense of these drops. He hasn't been losing as much since the initial ones did a lot of damage.
But look at this push, Penguin. This huge amount of just Hellbats and tanks. No other real support associated with this. It's funny to consider, but one Mutalisk would wreck this army at the moment.
Alright, this is going to be the moment of truth. We need to see brilliant Blinding Clouds. We need to see a perfect engagement from JonSnow. He already loses 2 Roaches for free. He needs every single unit he can. He needs to get the best engagement in the history of the world. The supplies are pretty even, but he doesn't have any ultras. His 2-2 is just finishing.
Blinding Cloud is going down on everything, but the Hellbats continue to push forward. Hellbats, of course, not really affected by the Blinding Cloud. QXC unsieging immediately, but his left flank, JonSnow, is completely decimated. But he cleans up a lot of those tanks. Will it be enough? Because the second push, the continued assault here from QXC, will just push into this 3rd base kind of unopposed.
A lot of those Hydras engaged the Hellbats head on. That was not a very good engagement, but as you said, the back number of tanks was sort of decimated here. We only have 5 more tanks in front. That could be enough if QXC takes a nice engagement. We have a bunch of Roaches popping out. Some of them at the 4th will be able to clean up these units, these Hellbats that are frying away at some drones. The Ultras are almost done as well. If he can get the Ultras done, he should be able to break this push.
Well, the Ultras are out. The Thors are also out. 2 big heavy-duty units that do clash well against one another.
Yeah, we'll have to see just how JonSnow decides to take this push. The tank spread on QXC is great, but here comes another push down the ramp. He's already engaging at the...
Nice Blinding Clouds. Most of these tanks rendered... the irrelevance of these tanks is so painful to watch, but these Thors, if these Thors get cleaned up, all he has to do is abduct 1 or 2 of them. This is like such a big part of QXC's army. He cannot afford to lose these.
Really, really nicely done by JonSnow. He's able to push on forward and decimate that first push. There's another push coming around the side, and I'm not sure I like this from QXC. He's going to lose a lot of supply.
Nice abducts.
Low ground. Very nicely done. And QXC is going to be hard-pressed to hold this. JonSnow got the miracle engagement that he needed, and now he's actually pretty far ahead in this game. He's going to need to just break QXC. QXC doesn't really have all that much sieged up here, only a couple of tanks. Hellbat's coming down to save these 2 other tanks.
I love these turrets.
JonSnow has enough to take this out right now, but we'll have to see just how well he can engage here. The Vipers do not have the energy they need, so they're going home to sort of reload. But,
I love the placement of these turrets from QXC. He knows he needs to zone out those Vipers. His tanks are in such danger, not from the abducts, but from those Blinding Clouds.
Yeah.
Poor CC. Scared for his life.
No, it's not. So he gets away. That's a nice little mini win for QXC.
I like this though. QXC, look at the southern part of the map. He's going out with this Hellbat hit squad. I mean, he knows that he can't just sit at home. He can't take this fight head on. Not just yet. He has to get more army supply.
He's actually doing. He's okay now. The initial sort of the initial fear period. He had to be afraid for his life when JonSnow was going for that counter push. But now that he's stabilized again, the game is pretty even. He's actually killed off the 5th base. No cancel there, and a lot of links are going to go down to these Hellbats as well.
QXC also, I want to point out, he was producing 7 Widow Mines at a time. There's a significant amount of Widow Mines on the field now, compared to the 0 that there were previous.
I'm not sure, actually. 13 is an okay number, but you don't want to overcommit to Widow Mines, especially in the late game, just because Ultras tank them so well.
I know, it takes like 7 hits or something ridiculous to kill an Ultralisk.
I think it takes 6, but yeah.
It's too much, is what it is. And of course, the Ultras do soak so much of that splash damage.
It takes 5, but still, that's 10 supply of army that's used to kill 1 Ultralisk.
I don't know, the funniest thing I can't get over... I was gonna say... Yeah, the funniest thing I can't get over between these two is the fact that Widow Mines have more health than Hydralisks, and Swarm Hosts basically produce free Hydralisks. So there's this kind of like weird dynamic between units, but these Vipers being taken out is huge! An Ultra...
all of the Vipers, and this is actually... he gets the blinding clouds down in time, so he may still be able to trade favorably, but that was a great engagement for QXC, and JonSnow is really looking terrible at the moment, losing his entire army for the cost of that base that wasn't even saturated.
The on-siege tank's doing so much damage, just obliterating those roaches, but JonSnow remaxing on just Ultralisk, well, most of the Ultralisk, I should say, and Zerglings. I don't feel that's the best composition to fight Hellbats and tanks, Penguin.
He's actually going to be okay. There's only one Hellbat with the main army, so the Lings could do very, very well here, but these Hellbats have forced evacuation on the third base, and the Hydra's going to come in and try to deal with that. Lings also spawning are pretty much going to get fried alive immediately. He will be able to clean up the drop there, and hopefully he can get a good engagement here.
But this big push, JonSnow only has 2 Hydralisks here.
Ooh, nice Widowmine detonation, killing off the Hydras in that base. But this is actually a really nice engagement coming in from 2 sides here for JonSnow. He's going to try to push through the front. The Thor tanking a lot of the splash damage from those Ultras from the one side, but the Ultras from the other side, he's going to be able to tear through the tank lines. JonSnow looks like he will be able to clean this up, but QXC doing a good amount of damage there. Denying mining time, killing some workers. He's up to 39 worker kills this game.
I love just the amount of, I guess you could phrase this, cancellation that's been happening in this game. Both these players have just been so...
Oh, sorry, Widowmines.
Oh, these Hydralisks.
Boom.
Actually
Go down.
Yeah, but the 2, I would have loved to have seen the Widowmines target fire the Hydralisk rather than the 1 Ultralisk.
I agree. I mean, killing 2 Ultras for free is nice, but the Hydras would have been a bigger win. JonSnow is really struggling right now, though. He's on 4 base, QXC is on 5. And he's struggling to get above 130 supply, and QXC is pretty much maxed.
Yeah, this planetary is not something that goes down too easily either. You cannot just swarm into it. The actual, I mean, planetary fortresses are so damn durable. It's just not easy for a Zerg player to take them down.
Yeah, I mean, I think JonSnow, what he needs to do now is he needs to get up a maxed out army and try to push into one of the bases, but on Akilon Wastes, that is so hard to do.
Yeah, and of course you can't...
QXC has this sort of position.
Yeah, you can't really starve someone out on this map. Akilon Waste is not an attrition map. I mean, it is if you get to the 40-minute mark, but there's no way for him to really secure these bases. QXC, as we see, just keeps expanding. He doesn't really care. That planetary is so safe.
We do see 5th base coming up for JonSnow now, and he is going to be able to kill off a few free Hellbats. Always a nice win to get free units. But overall, JonSnow is going to have to kill push after push right now, but at this point in time, QXC is not that high in the Hellbat counts. He's only got 6 Hellbats with this, so the Lings, if they're well spread out, could do quite well against this composition. There's only 1 Widowmine in the actual army as well.
He's also only got 2 Vipers, and one's actually half dead. These Vikings will quickly dispatch for them before too many blinding clouds go off. So, I mean, that advantage, and I say that in air quotes, is not going to be there for JonSnow.
That's true. Here we go. The push into this choke here. I don't like that JonSnow keeps engaging into this choke. That's just not going to be very good against a mech army, but he needs to go for a flank. He is setting up for the flank. And nice moving
Well, the southern base, I mean, having his army split is actually losing him on both fronts when he needed of these fights. 3rd base, 5th base.
Entire army for 2 tanks. And that was a beautiful little harass move by QXC.
Well, that wasn't just
really
2 tanks.
Space,
that wasn't just 2 tanks, Penguin. That was a lot more. Huge engagements going on while you're talking.
Alright, here we go, though. Moving in to take out this main army here. Looks like, once again, JonSnow should have enough to clean this up. But the trading is... I mean, overall, the trading's been pretty even. If you take a look at the resources lost.
But look at this line of tanks down here in the middle. It might just be enough. These Ultras are very low.
They're not going to get the splash damage they want to here. It looks like he should be able to clean this up, but JonSnow can't overextend. He's losing his Ultralisk. There's only 1 left and it's almost dead. He does tank the Widowmine shot on him pretty well.
But the Hydralisks are just, their DPS is monstrous.
Well, they're just getting fried alive. They die in 2 tank shots from a siege tank, so that's...
It's weird to watch too. QXC is constantly remaxing much faster than JonSnow, and that I feel has very little to do with like just look at the income for JonSnow. It's QXC has been skyrocketing. He's been a base ahead for so long, and JonSnow's just been having trouble matching this.
He's gonna go for another flank here, but without Ultralisk, there's nothing to really tank the damage. Only Hydro Ling, and that doesn't do all that well against a mech composition like this. And well, he is gonna be able to clean up a couple of the tanks. Actually, I'm actually amazed that he's been able to hold on to this base for so long, but.
Oh man,
actually these Lings could be able to cleave. The Lings that are about to fall
Penguin, this is huge. He's actually losing most of his overlords. Look at the supply count.
Yeah.
GG, well played.